Welcome, League. So, Steve Miller Band, I don't normally listen to that song, but I love Space Jam. Let me just tell you this. Kind of like what Champ Chatter did last week. Got a theme here today. And I'm just letting all my good players fly away from me. D'Angelo Williams, gone. Le'Veon Bell back. He's taking a back seat. And Josh Gordon, no longer professional athlete, essentially. So I brewed up some Harry Potter potion, which is straight out of my little potion book I've got, and it's a bit of a fantasy potion that'll help me get some good players. But really, it's cool because Jody gets this dry ice every week with some shipments, so it makes some cool drinks. Okay, so I've gotten some feedback on my videos, and it turns out that a lot of you guys really only care about the league pick'em. So I'm about to provide some more in-depth analysis. I'm going to, scrub the games a little bit more in depth and give you guys more of my in-depth thoughts and screw all the other crap because I don't think you really care about the transactions, paper bag team of the week. We all saw what happened in the recap, so you don't need to hear none of that. So maybe going forward, we'll give that a shot. Sotla's always trying to evolve, trying to keep the viewers engaged, and that's what we're going to do here. So this week is just going to be the matchups, and we'll talk about them, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll give you my picks. Before I get started on that, forgot one thing. Still want to carry League Pick'em. Keep that going. I think everybody likes League Pick'em. Scott went 5-1 last week, and he overtook me for the lead. It looks like Scott is 12-5. I appear to be 1.5 games back. Studs inflated balls, not Scott. Studs inflated balls, pardon me. So, Stud, like a lot of things, knows how to win. He's 5-1 as of last week. So let's see. He's 1.5 games ahead of me. I went 3-3 last week. My picks did not go so well. Dustin Moan, who missed his picks last week, or one of them, went 4-1. So we got a big group here, top 4. Sam's doing terrible, and then a couple people must have forgot. So do your league pick 'em, boys. The first matchup I'm going to do this week is going to be a shiny poop. I got Scott, and then Hillbilly Boners, I got Ryan here. So this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Ryan just barely beat me last week. I was not a happy camper. Could have been sitting at 3-0, but I'm past that already. It's a new week. We're getting started here with a very, very high-scoring game. Now, what I like about here is I actually agree here with Yahoo. Very rarely do I do this, but Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, same exact projection. I'm going to have, I actually agree with that. That's what I was saying, is that it's going to be a complete gunslinging show. That's going to be a fun game to watch on TV. But Scott's got the advantage here at wide receiver. Devontae Parker just kind of getting back from a week or two being missed. And what I like here is Carlos Hyde. I'm not a 49er homer. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I'm pretty objective. But I like this matchup that the 49ers have against Dallas. I've seen the spreads. The wise guys like the 49ers. And I think that's partially because Carlos Hyde's going to have a big week. I think Scott gets a big boost from Carlos Hyde. Neither of the tight ends are worth shit, but Scott's also got Marvin Jones Jr. sort of on the men's. However, he's always got Jeremy Maclin to plug in as the flex. So for this one, I'm going to take Scott over Pembroke in a very high-scoring matchup for Week 4. This matchup next, I got 2 struggling teams that are looking to get back on track. We've had Zuck with the most unlucky matchups. He's top in the league in scoring, right up there with everybody else. Then we got Sam, who's had a couple bad matchups, and then got one lucky win this year. I'm taking a look at this matchup, and I can see that Zuck's really relying on some banged-up guys. He's lost Des Bryant, who essentially has been pretty disappointing. Shane Vereen's gone. Jonathan Stewart's out. How much more guys can he lose? He's got Jamal Charles trying to work his way back. Zuck's desperate for his guys to get healthy. Alshon Jeffrey, banged up as always. let me tell you something. I love Sam's flyer picks. See, we're going back to what I was talking about earlier in the show. Jordan Howard that he picked up for free 2 weeks ago, he's making the start. And he also picked up Kyle Rudolph, who I think is going to be very solid. I know a lot of you guys disagree with me, but for a tight end in this year where it's been very weak position, I think that was a great pickup. And I actually don't know if Jamal Charles is going to play. That 12-point projection is so overblown. He's definitely going to get worked in slowly. He's missed a lot of games and a lot of time. I'm picking Sam in this matchup of Sandusky Daycare versus Team Rectum Blasters. So here's another matchup. This is going to be number 3 of the night. The Hand of God, Nick, straight off a very impressive win against Stud versus Tarzana Nomads of Los Angeles, owned by Alex. I think this is going to be the flyaway game of the week. I see this game as Andy Dalton going off tonight. However, Alex has struggled to pick the right player all year. I think he's finally going to get it right this week. His players are all coming together. He's fresh off of a big trade with Zuck. He's got a full team to play this week. I like Michael Crabtree. I think his projection is a little bit low. Mark Ingram and LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount's been good all year. Mark Ingram, just fresh off of a big game. Gronk's getting healthy. I don't think he's going to be much of a factor this week. I think he needs one more week to get back into game shape. However, I do like Alex's lineup. I think T.Y. Hilton was a good pickup on that trade with Scott. I think it was good for both of them. They filled in what they needed. And I really think Alex is going to run away with this one. Alex gets back on track, moves to 1-3. Nick, Hand of God, moves to even at 2-2. So in one of the games I'm watching most closely, I think, this week is going to be Love My Johnson. You love my Johnson. I think my screen's... You love my Johnson. Everybody does. That's what they all say. Dustin, Mr. Moan. And then we got Studs Inflated Balls. I think this is going to be a game that's going to decide who's going to be the elite team coming off of week 4. Number 1, number 2. I think Cam's going to be redeeming himself big time against Atlanta. We saw last week on the Monday night game, Atlanta, New Orleans. Neither play defense. Cam Newton's going to go off. I don't like Doug Baldwin. I'm going to say that. I don't like these projections. Willie Snead is elite receiver, very solid, high receiver number 2. Problem is Doug Baldwin. I don't know if you guys saw that line again with the Seahawks and Jets. That is going to be a very close game. I don't think the Seahawks are really going to do a whole lot. So I don't like Doug Baldwin this week in that play. But he does finally get Le'Veon Bell back after that 3-week layoff. He's back from suspension. He's going to be solid. Any running back on the Steelers is going to be good. However, Moan's got Tyrell Williams playing in that shootout game between New Orleans and San Diego. You know what I like, by the way, that Moan picked up? Kevin White has been getting a lot of attention despite a Bears offense that can't do shit. And I like that pickup of Kevin White because I think he's actually going to be effective as we go further down the season. He's got to choose him at flex between him and Sterling Shepard, which isn't a bad thing to have to deal with. And honestly, this is probably one of the toughest matchups. I can give the advantage to Cam Newton. We got stud. Between Brandon Cooks and Doug Baldwin, I think that's easy. Moan's got the advantage here. I don't know if Willie Snead's going to play. I've got to give it to Tyrell Williams just because of the matchup. CJ, David Johnson, they're going to tie each other, I believe, because CJ's got a pretty solid matchup with Tampa Bay. I think they're going to try and stop the pass. Le'Veon Bell, believe he's got a big advantage over DeMarco Murray, and I'm saying that because that Houston-Tennessee game's going to be, how do I say this, pretty low scoring in my opinion. Greg Olsen, got to give it to Moan over Eric Ebron. It looks like he's questionable. However, he's got Larry Fitzgerald. So I got the tie. It's going to come down to the kickers because I think both New York and Kansas City are elite plays this week. Here's what I'm going to do. Just because of Stud's team being banged up with Snead and Ebron, and I do like the Jets defense this week because the wise guys in Las Vegas like it, I'm going to give it to Moan this week. I'm sorry, Stud. I'm not going against you. You just have a very good matchup, very tough matchup, I should say, against Moan, and I think I'm going to go with Moan this week. So in this matchup, what I think would be the stinker of the week if it wasn't for the last game I'm about to talk about. We got myself, Winer Diner 49er, and we got Kyle's team, Pick a goddamn team name, you son of a bitch. So here's what I'm looking at. Matt Stafford's going to beat Derek Carr in the matchup. It's easy. Here's the thing. Big game for Thursday. Big implications on this matchup. We've got Jarvis Landry, Kyle's number one, versus AJ Green, my number one. And I really think this is going to be an important matchup because this is going to get the teams off on the right foot. I'm severely hampered at wide receiver 2. However, I don't have a lot of, how do I say this? I don't believe in Travis Benjamin a whole lot. That projection is way overblown. I don't think they quite know who's stepping up in San Diego quite yet. But God damn it, Lamar Miller and Jordan Reed had better step up and get a touchdown. I picked those guys so early, and neither of them have a touchdown yet this year. They are due, and I am relying heavily on Chris Ivory. I am very lucky, though, that Kyle's playing Brandon Marshall against the Seahawks, which is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game, as I've been saying this whole time for this video. I'm going to give myself a slight edge. I don't like it. If Kyle beats me, I really am not going to be that surprised, but it's going to be because Jarvis Landry and Matt Stafford carry him, because Charles Sims has a tough matchup. Colby Fleener is probably going to step up. I was wrong on Colby Fleener, it appears. I'm not willing to give up. If he has another good game, I'm definitely saying I'm wrong. However, I want to see one more good performance out of him before I consider myself way wrong. But Brandon Marshall, Charles Sims, Travis Benjamin, I think are lacking. However, I do have Chris Ivory, Sammy Watkins. I'm probably going to have to replace with Jamison Crowder. So we will see. I'm giving myself a slight edge. I wouldn't be surprised here if Kyle takes me, but I'm still picking myself. So in the last matchup, got my stinker of the week. Got Fuck Goodell, as in Kevin. Shasberry Steelers by Mr. Steel Curtain 69 himself. Let me just say this. We talked about this last week. Sean has had the most devastating injuries to deal with. He's got Eddie Lacy on a bye. This is not just going to go well for Sean. However, he's got Tom Brady coming back next week, so that's something to look forward to. He can make a move with Ben Roethlisberger, kind of improve his running back core. And we'll see what he's going to do. But he is lucky to have Kevin also having a bit of a bye week issue this week to deal with too. However, I'm looking at the bench. Kevin's got DeAndre Washington. He's only projected 3.5 points. That might be a little low. But he's got Duke Johnson, Steve Smith Sr. to plug in. I think this is going to be okay for Kevin. I do believe he's going to be fine. For how bad Sean is doing, he does have a halfway decent matchup considering the position he's in right now. I'm going to give it to Kevin just slightly. Sean also could definitely win this matchup. However, I do think it's going to be low scoring for both teams. I hope you guys enjoyed my picks this week. Put a little bit more analysis in them. Give me some feedback. Let me know if you prefer I do this setup every week versus, the usual regimen that I have. So, without further ado, I think you guys are done with me. I'm going to leave you with Mr. Mackey to give you one good life lesson as we've learned today.
Now, as I was saying, drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad. Because drugs are bad, okay? It's a bad thing to do drugs, so don't be bad by doing drugs, okay? That'd be bad. Drugs are bad.